and welcome to FPL Mate, your best move for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan, and oh boy, do I have a wildcard team for you guys. Yes, we are going to do a Game Week 10 wildcard team video today, and we've got some template busting players in this team as well. So if you're not wildcarding, there's still a couple of players that you want to consider from this team. So if you do enjoy this one, make sure you drop a like, do subscribe if you haven't done already. Double check to make sure you are subscribed, because we're looking to go for 200,000 subscribers very, very soon. Let's have a look at this team. Alright, so as always, guys, I have taken feedback on board, and I'm just going to be starting off with a slightly lower team value team here, just so everyone can afford this kind of team, because I know people have said in the past, Dan, you make very, very expensive wildcard teams, and not all of us can afford it. So 99.1 million team value, and then there are some other options where you can bump that up as well and upgrade this team as well. So I think that's all good. Let's start off in goal. We have got Alphonse Areola against Everton next, so a decent fixture for the West Ham boys, so that's pretty nice there. And decent fixtures throughout as well. So if you don't want to spend too much money on a goalkeeper, and honestly, right now, looking through all the goalkeepers, the points seem to be super inconsistent. So it's very difficult to pick out a good goalkeeper. I feel like Areola at that really, really cheap 4.2 million price tag and the really nice fixtures, particularly from a defensive point of view, you don't expect these kind of teams to score too many goals, do you, against West Ham? So let's see what they can do there. Let's go into defense now, and Kieran Trippier, I feel like, has to make this team, right? He's been doing so well recently, and the fun doesn't seem to stop. If you're a Trippier owner, you're going to be very pleased with recent results, and I feel like this could just continue and actually make Trippier one of the most important players to have in your FPL team, full stop. I know a lot of people haven't been able to afford him in the past, but I would try and make a place for him, because he's going to continue to get those assists, continue to pick up those bonus points, and clean sheets are always on the cards as well for Newcastle. They're a really strong defence, and they have got some decent fixtures coming up with the likes of Wolves and Bournemouth in the next four. So very much like that, would be looking to have Trippier in your team. Next up, we're going to go for Gabriel. Yes, he was a popular player pre-season, fell out of favour with FPL managers after that, didn't he? Just because of those couple of games where he didn't play. But he is back in the starting 11 for Arsenal now. He has been for some time, and he's playing really well as well. So I definitely feel like if you're going to go for an Arsenal defender, why not go for the cheapest guy in that back four, Gabriel at 4.7 million. He is going to get clean sheets for a strong Arsenal defence against the likes of Sheffield United and Burnley in the next couple of game weeks. So that's really nice. And also with Gabriel, as we know, he's always that attacking threat from those set pieces as well. So really, really nice stuff from him in general. And I feel like he needs to be a player that we start talking about again. It's time to forgive him for what he has done to our FPL teams in the past and bring him back in. It's time. Next up, Tsimikas. So yeah, he is definitely a template busting player. Recently, we found out that Robertson is going to be out for the rest of the year with a shoulder injury, and Tsimikas is going to be deputising there in the left back position. So whilst Liverpool have some really nice fixtures, you would say that going for a nice cheap 4.5 million defender from them might be a pretty decent idea. I do think they can keep some clean sheets. We've already seen that last game week. We saw Liverpool keep a clean sheet in game week 9. Tsimikas picking up those crucial 6 points. Very, very nice indeed. I feel like he could be a good player, and we also have some set pieces from him as well. So he's going to be taking some corners, but going to be creative in open play as well. It's going to be a really good pick, and at 3.4% ownership, he's a bit of a differential now as well. I'm sure more people will be looking to bring him in over the next couple of game weeks, so why not get ahead of the crowd as far as that one's concerned. Moving on into midfield, Mo Salah, the king of FPL right now. Once again, he is reclaiming his kind of place at the top as the most crucial player to own in FPL, and that's not going to stop anytime soon, because we've got Nottingham Forest at home and Luton in the next 2 game weeks, and these are definitely fixtures where you can afford to captain Salah as well, so he could be that really nice captain option that I'm sure a lot of you guys are looking for. So the king is back. He needs to be in our teams, particularly if you're wildcarding. There's no real excuse to go without Salah. I'm sure you guys will agree with that one. Next up, we have got Saka. So we found out that he is fit. He is available. He played against Chelsea. Played a decent amount of minutes against Chelsea as well. So yeah, hopefully everything is going to be back to normal for Saka, and he's going to continue with his an amazing form that he's shown this season. He really is the standout player for Arsenal, and when we're looking at the Sheffield United and Burnley fixtures, both at home, we maybe want a captaincy option for these game weeks, or maybe we're kind of just looking for, you know, the best Arsenal player to go for. Well, it's Saka. Now, the only thing I would say to Saka is that if we all buy you, Mr. Saka, please take the penalties. We need the extra penalty points. That would be amazing. Hands up, guys, if you agree with that one. Next up, Jared Bowen, and what a hot streak he is in right now. Another goal, this this weekend just gone. So yeah, very nice from him there. I think genuinely Bowen is proving to be a really strong, really decent FPL asset in general. And yeah, like I said, we've got some decent fixtures coming up for West Ham as well, and I feel like Bowen is going to be certainly the attacker from West Ham that is going to capitalise and gain the most from it. He's playing essentially as a striker. He's playing very, very far up the pitch. It's good to see, and he's always looking to take a shot and continue his great form. It kind of reminds me of a couple of seasons ago when Bowen was just in that insane streak. It just made him a must-own player, really. Next up, we're going to add some Brighton to this mix, because Brighton have a really nice run of fixtures. Really, really like the look of this run. So I feel like we all need to be turning our attention now back to Brighton after that Man City fixture is now out of the way. Mitoma, I feel like, is probably the standout player. Probably the standout player from Brighton right now. So the player to go for. Getting assists, taking shots, driving into the box, cutting inside. We know what he likes to do. The dribbling master himself. And you know what? I love the Brighton pick so much. We're going to add another one. And it's going to be Adingra. Yes, we've got another template busting player, because Adingra has been starting a lot of games recently, but also on top of that, we now got an injury to Solly March, which is a massive shame, really, for Brighton and for Solly March, because you guys know I love Solly March as a football player, but unfortunately the injury does look quite bad for him, so wishing him a speedy recovery. But as FPL managers, we try and take advantage of these situations in many ways, don't we? Which is a bit sad, but like, hey, that's what we do. And Adingra is going to be the guy who's playing, very regularly on that right-hand side of midfield now, I believe. And at 5 million, man, what a bargain for this run of fixtures to get a player this cheap who is now pretty much nailed on for Brighton. 0.4% ownership, so super differential as well. I think this could be a really, really nice, kind of interesting and different idea that I'm certainly thinking about doing for my own team as well. I'm not on a wild card, but I'm thinking, can I bring Adingra into my team? Is that going to be beneficial at this price? Like, there's a lot of good reasons to go for him, so why not? So we've thrown him in the wild card team. Let's move up front. Erling Haaland is obviously going to be here. Yeah, scored a goal in the game week 9, so that was good to see him back on the score sheets, I suppose. I think he's going to continue and be the top goal scorer in the Premier League all over again. That's what he does, right? So more goals from Erling Haaland. We've got Manchester United up next, which I think is a better fixture than a lot of people probably think it is. We know Manchester United are not in great form right now, and we know what happened last time Haaland played against an out-of-form Manchester United team. He scored an absolute boatload of FPL points, and that's what we're here for, right? So Haaland stays in the team for me. I know a few people might be thinking about selling him, but I think he has to stay for me. And finally, we've got Ollie Watkins in this team. I think that's pretty obvious that we were going to throw him in there. Another performance to be remembered, really. He could have even got more points in that game against West Ham in game week 9. So he's just showing some really good form right now. He's got Luton Town up next. It's a really, really nice fixture. We've got some decent fixtures after that as well. We really have. So Ollie Watkins at 8.2 million. He's the guy. He's the guy to go for in attack right now. He's arguably a player that we're probably thinking about right now more than we're thinking about Haaland, which is really, really saying something. So he makes the wildcard team. Now, let's bring up the bench. We've got Strakosha. I've just gone for a 3.9 million goalkeeper in this team, but if you're not comfortable with that, you want a slightly better goalkeeper, obviously Turner at 4.1 is an option, but Strakosha at 3.9 I think is a fine bench option, and then you can just play Areola every week. We've got Gahey, so yes, a little bit of money on the bench in this team. Gahey is nice cover for maybe Gabriel when he plays against Newcastle in game week 11, and Tsimikas when he plays against Man City in game week 13, I believe. So in those kind of fixtures, you can swap in Gahey for the Crystal Palace defence if you'd like to do that. Obviously, there are some other Crystal Palace defenders you can go for. Mitchell is also 4.5, and I believe Anderson is 4.9, which is a little bit more money. Not really sure it's worth spending that extra money if it's just going to be a player that you're benching pretty often, but I still think he's at a fine pick. Taylor 3.9 defender, and Mubama 4.3 forward. So really, really cheap in those other positions, but I think that's fine. I would not be looking to spend too much money on the bench personally. It's just not really how I like to play FPL. I prefer to put more money in the starting 11 and go pretty much bare bones on the bench, but we have got Gahey as that one player to come in and cover in those cases of emergencies, which hopefully we won't get too many of, but hey, you never know, do you? So this is the team. We're going to slap a captain's armband on. We're going to put it on Saka. I'm actually going to put it on Saka against Sheffield United, because Am I happy to captain Haaland and Salah this week? Definitely, yeah, I would definitely be happy and willing to do that. But I'm just edging towards Saka right now. Salah gets the vice captain. I'm not 100% sure this is the right move, and you guys can make your own minds up on captaincy. Right now, I'm thinking Saka, but I'm sure I will get more tempted by Salah as the week goes on. The problem is with Salah is that he has been dependent on penalties, and I feel like he hasn't been playing amazingly, but he has still been getting the FPL points, which is why he's such an FPL legend in a way, because he'll get points even when he's not playing amazingly. And I do think Nottingham Forest are not such a bad defence either. So I don't know. It's a really, really tough decision this week between Salah, Saka, Haaland. I don't know if you want to throw in Trippier into the mix as well, because he's been doing pretty well. And Ollie Watkins plays against Luton Town as well. So there's genuinely loads of options in Game Week 10 for captaincy. So I don't want to commit to anything right now, but right now, leading Saka, I think that could change every day. Let me know what you guys think about that, actually, because I'd like to hear some of your opinions on who you will be going for captaincy in Game Week 10, or at least who you're thinking about right now, because there's a lot of time to change our minds, isn't there? So, yeah, this is the team. Like I said, we have probably got a little bit more money to play around with if we want to, if we have that available, and I think there are some other players we could potentially be upgrading to. So, let's have a quick look at that. Alright, so I have pulled this team up in the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool. You guys might have seen this tool already. If you haven't done, do go check this out in the link in the description, and you can check this out for free. Really, really powerful tool for helping not only predict points, but also plan your team moving forward and trying to mess around with things. I always build my wildcard drafts in this tool because I just think it's the best way and place to do it. So let's have a look at this team in here. And I feel like there are immediately a couple of positions you could maybe afford to change around a little bit, and that's helped by the predicted points here. So you can see, for example, Areola doesn't really have massively high predicted points. If you do want to invest in another goalkeeper, I'm just going to go on the goalkeepers for game week prediction of how many points they're going to get. Raya comes out on top. So if you're willing to spend 4.8 million on a goalkeeper, Raya is definitely the guy to go for from Arsenal. But I also do want to have a quick look at Johnston. I feel like he is definitely a goalkeeper who I would consider going for at 4.5. He's probably a good value for money keeper. Only 0.3 more than Areola at this point. So if you can afford to do that, if you'd like to spend a bit more, then Johnston is possibly the guy I would go for, particularly if I already had Gabriel in the defensive slot, because I wouldn't mind leaving one slot open for maybe a different Arsenal player in the future, maybe bringing in Martinelli at some point. So yeah, that's definitely something to consider. I think the defenders I would pretty much leave as is, other than Gahey. If you're happy to play Gabriel and Tsimikas every week, I think you could just downgrade Gahey to someone cheaper. If we look at the cheap kind of defenders on here, let's just go, I don't know, 4.2 million or less. There are a couple of defenders here that could work out. Branthwaite at 4 million is definitely good value for money there. Maybe a small shout for Harry Maguire as well, or have I lost my mind? I don't know. But he does play Luton Town in game week 12, which is pretty nice. We've got the likes of Fulham and Everton. Maybe you could just get some sneaky points there from him if he continues to start. But hey, I'm not even sure that's going to be happening, to be honest. But yeah, Branthwaite seems to be the 4 million defender to go for right now. And I think Everton can actually keep some clean sheets in this upcoming fixture run. So definitely a player to consider if you want to downgrade Gahey and free up even more budget. And that's going to enable you now to upgrade some of these other positions. Now, I feel like in this midfield, I would like to keep Mitoma ideally for this fixture run. Bowen is a very good pick, but I don't think he's essential. If we look through the top players for this upcoming run of fixtures, we are going to see the likes of Son and Maddison. And those are really, for me, the players that are missing from this team. So if you can move a Bowen to a Maddison, I think that would work really well if you can afford to do that. A Dingra up to Maddison is going to be a little bit more difficult, but I think it's going to be possible if you downgrade Gahey, and then you can go for Maddison in midfield. So this is like the cheap version, but there are some other kind of options there, particularly those Spurs midfielders that I think could slot in there as well. And the other player I want to have a quick look at is Diaby. I know he's not been putting up amazing points recently, but he just seems to be a player with amazing potential, always in good positions and stuff like that. His Opta stats are okay, but maybe they could be a little bit better. I just like the look of Diaby when I watch Aston Villa games at the moment, playing super high up the pitch, isn't he? And always kind of partnering Watkins in those forward positions. So yeah, could you consider him? Definitely. There's definitely potentially a place for him. A Dingra up to Diaby, if you have the cash, is something that I would consider as well. Or you could swap Mitoma to Diaby as well. I think that works out pretty well. And aside from that, I wouldn't make any other changes. There would be a defensive rotation, as I mentioned earlier, so I'm just going to scroll through each game week here so you guys can see. So in game week 11, It actually reckons that Taylor is the best defender to go for at home against Crystal Palace, but you do have Gahey there. You can maybe switch in Gahey for Taylor there, who plays against Burnley. So I think that works quite well when Gabriel is playing against Newcastle. You go into game week 12, and now we have got Gabriel back in because he plays against Burnley at home. Game week 13, there would possibly be a swap here where you take out Tsimikas here and replace him with Gahey. So, you know, when Tsimikas against City or Gahey against Luton, like it's a big difference in opposition quality, so it's quite easy to make that decision to rotate those defenders there, and so on and so forth through all of the game weeks. You just rotate those 3 defenders. Taylor can maybe come in occasionally, but you're probably not going to play him too often. But in fairness, Taylor does have that Sheffield United game in game week 15 as well. Maybe that would be a time you would consider it, but yeah, in general, you can just do that rotation and make some changes to the team and the midfield as you go on. Like I say, Martinelli is a player I would consider bringing in. You know, you could do Bowen to Martinelli, for example, as well. I think that works. So few different options. I think as a starting point, though, this team is just super sick. Really like this team, and yeah, I want to get my team a little bit closer to this if possible. Looking to bring in the likes of Saka and the Brighton guys. Those are the players I'm looking at the most right now, and Gabriel as well in defense, Tsimikas in defense. Like, I'm jealous in a way of Game Week 10 Wildcard is. May have had a rough ride in the last couple of game weeks if you didn't have certain players like Trippier or Salah or Watkins, but whatever. You have a real opportunity here to make back the points, so be positive, and yeah, think about the points to come, because there's some really good players that weren't options before that you can now very easily jump on. So there we have it, guys. That is the wildcard video. If you did enjoy this one, make sure you do drop a like and check if you're subscribed or not, please, guys. We're on the road to 200,000 subscribers, and I really believe we can do it. Probably not by January, maybe by February or March or something like that, but I'll be very happy no matter what. Guys, make sure you do check out Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool if you like the look of it. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you tonight for the stream. See you later, mates. Bye-bye.